Duluth will have a new mayor in 1 month as voters elected a new city leader in November. The campaign signs have been collected and door knocking is behind, and now the real hard work begins. Joining us to talk about the campaign and his transition to office is Roger Reinert, Mayor-Elect of the city of Duluth. And Mayor-Elect, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
No, thanks for having me. And congratulations on your soon retirement.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too. Out with the old, in with the new. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the campaign and what you think are some of the factors that set you apart and really gave you an edge in this.
Well, you know, I think there were a couple things that played. One was folks were just ready for something different. And that was something that we heard really from one end of the community to the other. And sometimes people would say it differently. They might it might be about, you know, I just think a third term is too much. Some folks had specific issues that they were concerned about. But for many, it was just a sense that they wanted to see the community head in a different direction. And that coupled with, we really hadn't had a contested election for mayor since 2007, and that was Don Ness and Charlie Bell. And we saw that, you know, as I did my homework to think about feeling called to this, you know, I looked at that history, and 4 years ago, 2/3 of Duluthians didn't even vote in the mayoral election. So, you know, as I reflect on this season we've just ended, one of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is that we saw almost 54% voter turnout. Some states in presidential elections don't see that kind of a voter turnout.
So now, what's it like putting a team together?
Sure. You know, I think folks always ask, like, what is it that the mayor, you know, where do your hands show up, I guess? And all the department directors are mayoral appointees, the police chief, the fire chief, the human rights officer, the city administrator, and the city attorney. And then the mayor also has 2 staff that directly work with them, a communications person as well as a community outreach officer. So I've been busy. Julie and I were chatting before the show. You know, I still have my other jobs that people are paying me for until this one starts. So on top of that, I've been busy just getting a chance to sit with many of those folks one-on-one and sort of make those evaluations, like who are the right folks to be in the team to join me as we move forward after January 2nd.
And of course, you served on the Duluth City Council years ago. Does that familiarity with the departments and with the procedures in the city kind of help you as you start putting things together?
I think so, and of course it's not exactly the same, and it's not even exactly the same as when I was in the legislature, which was you know, a half a dozen years ago. But definitely the process is familiar, so the rhythms are familiar. And coming off the council, I think I really have a respect for the role that the council plays. You know, it's like Congress to the president at the local level. And so I've also started meeting with counselors and counselor-elects one-on-one just to build that relationship, talk about what their agenda is in 2024, what my interests are, where we see overlap, where we might have differences. And I think, you know, communication and being honest about those things is a great way for us to start.
Do you have any initial goals, Roger, in your first few months of office?
Well, you know, Denny, I think that first 100 always seems like a magic number. I'm convinced it's only magic because we say it is. But, you know, as I've met with those current city staff leaders, I've really said 2 things. Number one, you know, when I'm in office, and that first week is going to be spent circling back to all those folks again, I want you to talk to me about a couple wins in your area that we can get out of the gate right away that show the community we heard these 5 big issues we talked about during the campaign, and this theme of we really want the city to do city things again, to really focus on core city services. We want to demonstrate that to our taxpayers right away. And then the second thing is I'm really interested with my team of looking at the structure in City Hall. Where do we have our alignment of both our human and our fiscal resources, and are they aligned to those core city services that we've promised we're going to deliver? So kind of both short and a longer term goals. And I would share, I do plan to do a State of the City at about that 100-day mark. I'm hoping to do it out at Denfeld High School in the auditorium and have people do something a little bit different than what we've normally done with the deck and come to one of our really historic assets in the western part of our community.
Of course, you'll be mayor of the entire city, but there were parts of the city that lean toward Mayor Larson.
Sure. Yeah.
The UMD area, the
East Hillside,
downtown, waterfront.
Yep.
Are there special things that you're going to do to reach out to voters in those areas to try to get them on board the Roger train?
Well, I don't want to ride the Roger train. No, I think my attitude is, and I said this the night of the election, I am mayor for all of Duluth. And I've had plenty of meetings already with folks that I know didn't support me, and that's okay. There's a few cases where it's going to take more work to rebuild some relationships, just because of at times this campaign was challenging. I'll say that. But for most, this is the product of having a couple well-qualified candidates. You will have people make different choices, and I'm okay with that. And I don't take that personally. So, the mayor for all of the community means that I treat all of the community the same. And I'm not looking to try to do one thing for a group of people than I would for another. And part of that is I don't have an eye towards 4 years from now. I've been asked to serve at this time. And 3 or 4 years from now, we'll make an assessment of whether I feel called and whether the community thinks that I would be the right fit. But that's not the work we're doing now. The work we're doing now is to align the staff and resources to our core city services.
And as you look ahead, Roger, how strong is Duluth economically?
We're doing well, but we could do better, certainly. And one of the things we talked about during the campaign was how important it is to grow our commercial tax base, to grow the business part of our community. Denny, we're seeing population growth in the region. We're not seeing it in the city. So we really have a twofold challenge. And one is to dispel that myth that we're a difficult place to do business. But the other, and it's so intertwined, is to have that mid-market housing so that as our employers try to recruit, as they try to grow, those employees have a place to live within our community.
Getting back to rebuilding and building relationships, you served many years in the state legislature as a member of the DFL party.
Yeah.
You chose not to seek the DFL endorsement in the mayor's race, but it was given to Emily Larson.
Sure.
Are there repairs that need to be made
certainly.
there in terms of kind of bringing yourself back into the fold?
Well, and I would say a couple things. It's a great question. And really nothing to do around the endorsement. I made an intentional decision about not seeking political party and honoring the nonpartisan nature of the role. And, as you know and many know, I think I was endorsed 5 times as a DFL candidate. Much more to do with the turn the campaign took, and there were 9 different attack mailers from a group that supported me at one time, and I was a member of it at the Capitol.
Did that surprise you?
It did, and it really disappointed me. And it disappointed me both because of that nature, but also because of the DC tactic of I'm going to take this one thing that was a committee vote on an A5 amendment and offer it as proof of everything. And I'm so thankful, and I really did believe that local is where that we can overcome those styles of because people know you and they've seen your service. So what I'll say is, I come into office knowing that I owe this election to one group of people, and that's everyday Duluth voters. Because, of course, in addition to not doing party endorsements, we didn't seek elected official endorsements, we didn't seek a laundry list of union endorsements. We really were just focused on folks, and we saw that again in that 54% voter turnout.
You did a lot of one-on-one campaigning.
I sure did.
What did you learn from the voters as you knocked on doors?
And it really started last spring right away. We really were intentional about our first phase of the campaign being listening. So we had coffee conversations and we had small groups, and I can't tell you how many one-on-ones I did. And largely I just listened and I took notes. And out of that came those 5 big issues then we talked about, the housing and the commercial tax base and streets and downtown. And those then I consider our marching orders as we move through. When you look at not just almost record voter turnout, we haven't seen it in many, many years, that 54%, but also the 20% vote margin. I mean, it really, I didn't need a poll. I mean, that told me that not only were we right on the issues, but that the public was saying, get after it. This is what we want to see progress on.
You've had a lot of life experience since the last time you were in public office.
True story, yeah.
You earned your law degree, you've been working as a lawyer.
Went to Afghanistan.
You've been deployed a number of times as a naval reservist. You've been teaching at the college.
Yeah.
Are you a different person today,
gosh, yes.
coming into office with different perspectives?
That's such a great question. And I think, I look back and, spending a year in combat in Afghanistan, coming back home and going through a really difficult personal chapter, as many veterans do after that kind of experience. You know, if you would have asked me 3 years ago if I'd ever be sitting here having this, like, no, I didn't even know if I was still going to be in the Navy after that. But yet those things were so formative. You know, even in the most difficult parts of the campaign, I was able to say to myself, I've been through worse. Like, no one's shooting at me. Like, this is hard emotionally, but it's not dangerous. And it really does set a different metric and level for what is hard and what is challenging. And I think those, the number one thing that those experiences taught me was humility. And it's something that even as I move into this role, I keep saying to folks, like, if you've known me for more than a year, use my name and not the title, because I want to be the person doing the thing and don't ever want to become the thing.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, Roger, good
Thank
to see you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you,
Thanks
Roger.
for coming
Thanks,
in.
Teddy. You bet.